Hello, everybody. Joe the Lawyer here, and then welcome to the Analog Man Cave, next edition of my How to Be an Awesome GM. All right, so tonight is You Are Not a Damn Storyteller. That's what we're talking about here. Because ever since a certain group of voice actors started this show on YouTube where they played a certain RPG and got famous for what is, in my opinion, a totally scripted joke of a novel, which is disguised as game sessions, everyone seems to think that a GM is a storyteller, but no, you're wrong. Your job is not to tell stories. Your job is just to create situations for your players to mess around with. It's like throwing a lot of toys in this huge sandbox for a bunch of 5-year-olds. That's all you're doing. Have you ever seen a group of kids just play with stuff and make up a story out of all that stuff? They can take anything and just start making up stuff about it. They're just, playing. They could take the Superman doll, they marry him to Barbie, and then they both move into the Millennium Falcon and fly off to their vacation home on Venus, which is, just a pile of blankets on the mother's bed. By that token, same thing with PCs. They hop into the sandbox of your adventure, set in your world, and they start playing with everything in much the same way. The only difference is that you, as a GM, you decide what's in that sandbox to play with. When they try to do something, you decide what the outcome of that thing is, either by rolling dice or just making a ruling. That's your job. That's it. From that, events occur. Here's the key thing. Events occur. Things emerge, which can then later be told as a story by the players. That's what's called an adventure. Adventures are like short stories. You get enough of these adventures or short stories together and you string them along, and next thing you know, you got a campaign. From a campaign, the story emerges of the campaign, just like the story emerges of the adventure. That's why this whole, GMing thing and playing RPGs is called emergent storytelling, all right? So, that being said, every GM should learn storytelling techniques. You need to study books on writing and learn what makes a great story. You need to understand some basics like plot, suspense, character development, dialogue, scene development, conflict, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. You should even read Aristotle's Poetics to see where it all started, right? Now, this is not because you're going to pre-plan a railroad for the players. No, it's not because you're going to stage mock game sessions like that YouTube channel and those voice actors. No, far from all that. You need to understand all these elements, because as a GM, you're going to weave together all these adventures and short stories into some sort of a grand tapestry that helps make all these things into an amazing story later. Let me explain what I mean. Starting from the top down, all right, as a GM, because I'm a top-down guy, I always start from the top. Some people, build from the bottom up. They have nothing other than what's in front of them right now, and they build something from it. I am a top-down guy, as you'll learn later in the How to Build a Campaign thing. But from a top-down view, you need to know psychology and economics and sociology, history, geography, religion, politics, in order to be able to create a narrative of everything that's happening everywhere else in the game world that's going on everywhere that the PCs aren't in, right? So there's a world out there that's moving along and percolating. Every month, every week, whatever, something happens, right? And whether the PCs are there or not, something happens. So the easiest way to do this is, as I stated earlier in this series, consider yourself a storyteller of the larger world. That's the only story you're in control of, not the story of the PC's interactions of the world. You make adventures and things come out of those adventures, and out comes an emergent story of that adventure. But you're not in charge of the PC's interactions with the world. You just give them the toys to play with to mess around in your world. But you need to understand the techniques of storytelling, because that way your story of the larger world seems both real and interesting, okay? When your story of the larger world intersects with the PC's actions in their small part of the world, things that are going to happen that affect your story of the larger world in many ways. New things will happen in the world as a reaction to the PC's action. Every action has an opposite reaction. Is that some law somewhere? I don't know. But to be realistic, though, you need to be able to weave together and then talk about those new things that occur as a reaction in good story form. Knowing this good storytelling techniques is going to help you do this pretty well. The other reason it helps to know good storytelling techniques is because in the heat of the moment, you're in the GM hot seat, right? You're improvising your ass off as an NPC in some interaction with the PCs. All of those techniques are going to be your best friend. You can lean on them to help you craft NPC responses, like, on the fly real quick, that help the adventure itself emerge into a great story that the players are going to tell for years later. It's going to hang together and make way more sense than if you just rolled randomly for responses from the PCs, I mean, Jesus, you want to go play a solo RPG if you want to do that. So it's all going to hang together better if you know the great elements of storytelling. You can use all that stuff while you're interacting with the PCs and while things are going on in the adventure itself. Lastly, while you're writing the adventure, again, I'm drilling down to the adventure level now from the world level. While you're writing the adventure, if you have a good understanding of scene development and suspense and conflict, as well as character development for both the NPCs and especially for the foes of the PCs, get into the foes and motivations of them, and what makes them tick and all that, and that'll help you, determine what goes on within the adventure. It's going to make your adventures feel way more real. This is going to help with immersion, and everybody has more fun when they're immersed into the game, right? So, just to conclude, then, you're in no way a storyteller, but as a GM, you need to know how to tell great stories so you can write great adventures. This will help you guide and shape those great adventures that the PCs have while in the moment, as well as later on after the adventure's over. You can weave all that into the greater campaign story. All right, so that's why you're not a storyteller, but you need to know how to tell stories. All right. Hope that made sense. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think about this, guys. I appreciate it. And another video is coming tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks very much. Take care.